Okay, this is Kyle with PMI McCaw Properties, and just want to go over some frequently asked questions when it comes to a lease. Now, we call this a tenant fact sheet, kind of frequently asked questions. We also include this on the back page of a lease, so it's very clear on responsibilities and roles of owners and tenants. So I'm going to walk through it real quick, just so there's no confusion. Um, Pretty clear, but in case you have any questions, here it is. So lease is pretty straightforward. You know, pay monthly, pay on the first. You can go to pmimacaw.com and pay online, or you can mail in your check to PMI McCaw Properties, our address 796 Keller Parkway, Suite D. That's in Keller, Texas 76248. Please note we do charge a processing if you do check, because it just takes more time and energy into admin, and we have to drive to the bank. Typically, we have people initial that when they come into the office. Late fees, don't be late on your rent. It causes a lot of problems in our back office. Owners get upset with us for tenants being late, so there's a late fee. So make sure you pay your rent. That does get charged on the 4th, so let's make sure we get that in on time. Utilities, you need to have the leases in your name by the start of the lease. Provide those utility numbers to our office, um, either whoever you've been working with on signing your lease or your application. Pet screening, all tenants are required to register each pet. We go through petscreening.com. They do all of our administration and verification of uh, pet requirements, so pretty straightforward there. Air filters, change your air filter monthly. If you don't, we will charge you basically an inconvenience fee, because we're going to start changing it for you. But do change your air filter. That'll make the number of issues that could happen to an air conditioning unit decline significantly. We found that if you change your air filter regularly, you don't have emergency phone calls as far as HVAC very often. Smoke detector batteries, that is your responsibility. Change those. They should be good when you move in. Absolutely change them. When it starts beeping, don't just take the batteries out. Change the batteries. Light bulbs, that's your responsibility. If a light bulb goes out while you're in the property, in the lease, that's going to be your responsibility. You can call the office and we'll change it for you, but there would be an expense in it, and it'd be a lot cheaper if you did it yourself. Inspections, we do inspect the property throughout the year, so just be aware of that. You may be contacted anywhere from 90 days on out for a routine inspection. What we're doing is making sure that it's not just checking on you, but it's also checking on the property. Is there any settling on the foundation? Are there any drips underneath the sinks? Is everything working the way it should? But then again, we're also checking on you, making sure that you're treating the property with respect. Um, we don't want to. We're looking for violations also as far as unauthorized pets or people, things of that nature. But as long as you're good, you treat the property well, shouldn't have any problems there. Security deposit refund, basic element of that is leave the property in as good or better shape than what you find it, and you'll get your deposit back. If you move out before your lease is up, you kind of give up your right to the deposit for obvious reasons. Remember, properties in the state of Texas are rented as is condition. Safety issues or compliance issues should be addressed and repaired. We'll take care of those, but we got to know about them. Cosmetic and aesthetics are not required for maintenance. So if you have a hairline crack next to a window, um, just due to natural settling of a property, that's not a maintenance issue. That's just an aesthetic thing that happens to all properties typically over time. But again, is as in condition. We do take a lot of pride in our properties. We like them to be wonderful homes that you move into, but just keep that in mind. The governing document is the lease, so that's a responsibility to read the lease in its entirety. I'm going to read these out. Repair request. All requests for repairs must be submitted online at www.pmimacaw.com. If a tenant is delinquent in rent at the time a repair notice is given, landlord is not obligated to make the repair. So keep that in mind. In the event of an emergency related to the condition of the property that is materially effective, basically the physical health or safety of an ordinary tenant, tenant may call the property manager or maintenance coordinator at 682-331-5090. Ordinarily, a repair to the heating and air conditioning system is not an emergency, except for in extreme weather conditions. So we're talking, pretty obvious if it's freezing outside or if it's, 105 degrees outside. I would consider that an emergency. But we do our best to address those as soon as possible, even if it's not an emergency. Payment of repair costs. This is important. Pay attention. Owner will pay for repairs to the following items not caused by tenant or tenant's neglect: heating and air conditioning systems, water heaters, water penetration from structural defects. Owner will pay only for sewer stoppages that are caused by faulty construction, such as mortar, stones in the sewer lines, or caused by tree roots. So keep that in mind, that a barbecue head down the toilet is not something that the owner is going to want to pay for. Landlord will not pay to repair the following items unless caused by landlord's neglect: condition caused by tenant, an occupant or a guest or invitee of tenant; damage to doors, windows, and screens. So if a window's broken, that's not the landlord's responsibility financially. Certainly you can put a work request in, we can fix it, but you are going to get the bill for that. Damage from windows, doors left open; damage from wastewater stoppages caused by foreign or improper objects in a line that exclusively serve the property. So this is the example of a Barbie head down the toilet. That's going to be the tenant's responsibility on that. Items that are cosmetic in nature with no impact to functionality or use of the item. So that's going to be like the hairline cracks around a window that don't affect anything other than a slight visual aesthetic thing. And the following specific items or appliances: running toilets, unless it's beyond basic adjustment. So if it's barely running, that's something that a normal person, normal tenant should be able to handle themselves. Running faucets unless beyond adjustment. Refrigerators, repairs, or washers and dryers. So this is important. So we have refrigerators in some of our properties, but we do not guarantee the maintenance on those. And then same thing with washers and dryers. We do have washers and dryers in some units, but we do not guarantee the maintenance on those. Renter's insurance. Tenant must retain renter's insurance while residing in the property. Proof of coverage must be submitted to our office upon move-in. If no proof is received, coverage will be added to your account and you will be responsible for the cost. We'll just put it on there for you, and it will be an additional expense that we'll just bill to you. Pest control. PMI Macabre Properties may treat at owner's expense for pests if needed within the first 30 days of the lease. After that time, any periodic, preventative, additional extermination costs desired by the tenant, including treatment for bed bugs, is at the tenant's expense. The way we look at that is we want to make sure we have a good property. So if for some reason we do have a bug problem within the first 30 days, we're going to want to take care of that because that's just right. But if it's after 30 days, we're going to say those are your bugs, not ours. Rekeying of the property. This is very important. A lot of people get confused here. Go ahead and take that. Mr. Rekey, which is a third-party vendor, will call and schedule the rekeying for within the first 7 days of your move-in. It's very important that you schedule with them. Per Texas code compliance, this is required and must be scheduled. There's no expense to you for this, but it is required. You want to make sure that you have your keys or your locks rekeyed for obvious reasons. You don't want anybody floating around with extra keys around, previous tenants or even contractors or anything of that nature. So Mr. Rekey is very important. They're also going to go through the property and confirm that there are peepholes where there need to be peepholes, proper locks where they need to be, and then also they're going to confirm that the smoke detectors are operable and then are the appropriate for the state. Property condition form must be returned to our office within 5 days of move-in. And here's another one we kind of had to add later. Limited automotive repair. No rebuilding of engines or transmissions at the property. All fluid leaked from the vehicle or split need to be cleaned from concrete. Any repairs performed on the property must be completed within 1 day. Do not leave a vehicle jacked up or unsafe. Do not park in the yard area at any time. So we're going to ask you to initial each of these items and then sign at the bottom that you understand this. Because this really is for everybody's benefit. It really cuts down some confusions that people have when it comes to who's responsible for what in a lease. So just pay attention to your lease and be a good tenant, and we'll all get along.